What's up, buddies? Jose here, Wire Ninjas. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Wire Ninjas workbench. Today what we're going to be doing is category cable termination. Specifically Cat6A, and specifically using platinum tools and connectors. So, let's get into it. We'll put it in the right side. So, tool, open. You don't have to use my tools. You can use your own tools, whatever you have available to you. Like I said, this is part of the learning process, you know. So now we're inside the stripping device. We're going to give it one turn, one rotation. Like I said, I give it one rotation. What that does is create a little perforation. It doesn't actually physically cut through the entire jacket. But again, I do this to minimize the possibility that I'm cutting the inside jackets, even though I'm using the right tool. And then you can simply give it a bend. And because of the type of material that this jacket's made of, it simply breaks off. It's beautiful. Now, when you're cutting into this wire jacket, one thing to note is that you should be cutting a certain amount of length. For beginners, I would go about 2 inches, a little long. For experts, you can get away with 1 inch. The comfortable area is about 1.5 inches. And you'll see why that comes into play later. The next step after stripping your wire jackets would be to get rid of this rope and tubing. Some wire doesn't have rope, well, most should. Some wire doesn't have the internal tubing though. So what we're going to do next, step 1 is cutting the jacket. Step 2 is cutting the rope. So then, let's get into step 3, removing the tube. Now, step 3 can be combined with step 4, which would be separating your wire pairs. You know, you can see these are all colored. You have your blue set, your brown set, your green set, and your orange set. So, because the little tube set cuts it into 4, you see how the tube is cut into 4? Each little wire strands, the little pairs run through these tubes. So I simply bend them down, right? So you bend them down. And this is kind of blending into step 4, which would be separating your wire pairs. So then we're left with all the wires facing down, and we can cut the tubing. Be sure not to cut into the wire jacket. You can easily nick the wire jacket while you're cutting this tubing out. Because if you go too low, you're going to cut into these jackets. If you go too high, the tubing is going to be in the way when you put it into the connector. At this point is where the real skills come into play. So I like to start with the orange, and the reason that is because we mostly terminate B in the field. Most companies do. So we're going to be focused on B termination today. There's A termination and B termination. B means that the color order is white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, and brown. Alright guys, so remember this pinch point is essential. We're going to start with the white, orange, and then hit the orange. We're going to pinch these 2 wires and then start feeding in the next wires in the order. The next one would be the white, green. So it's white, green, goes after the white, orange, and orange. So now we have 3 in there. And then the next 2 in the order would be blue and white, blue. Remember to feed your wire in, pinch here, and then re-pinch down here, providing the straightest possible ribbon of wires you can. Now we're going to take the green and feed it through into the pinch point as well. So what I like to do along the way, and a little tip here, is give it a little wiggle, like a little back and forth wiggle, so the ribbon comes together real nice. And then I like to just straighten as I go. And then the next 2 would be white, brown, brown. I'm going to pinch my right side just for viewing purposes, so you can see that pinch point is perfectly straight. Everything's nice in alignment there. Make sure to keep this left hand pinch the whole time. You're feeding a wire, re-pinching, feeding a wire, re-pinching. So now that I have all the wires in the correct order or alignment, I can go ahead and make my cut. This is where I'm going to make my cut around here. Now, another tip for you guys is not to cut it perfectly at a 90-degree angle, but give it the slightest, and I mean very slightest angle when you cut. Very slight angle. This is going to help you feed through into the RJ45 connector with ease. And keep the left hand pinched the whole time. Let's go ahead and slice. As you can note, we slice out the wire. Now we have a nice clean line of wires in the correct order with all the same length. Keep this pinch point. This is why for beginners it's much easier to have the wires longer, because you can keep the pinch. Now here's a little bit tough, so remember, pin down. See the little flap pin is down. So we put the pin down and we're going to slide the wires into the connector, but you want to retain this pinch point the whole time. See, I can let off here, but I'm pressing down with my thumb the entire time while I'm feeding through the connector. And sorry, it's a little tough to see while I'm doing this and run the camera, guys. So forgive me. But I successfully, while holding the pinch down, see, you holding your thumb down is going to push the wires into the back of the connector, keeping their position. That's the main goal here, is to keep the wires in the position that we set out to make when we open them, untwisted them, and set them in their correct order. So now, this is why I use pass-through connectors. It's much easier on the learning curve. So now you can check. The wires have slid through. We have white-orange, we have orange, then we have white-green, we have blue, white-blue, then we have green, white-brown, then brown. All the wires are in the correct order. So now that you've verified that the wires have gone through the connector, they're in the correct order, you can take your crimp tool and crimp the wire, cutting the excess length off. Note that if you have a pass-through connector, you need a pass-through tool. Only the pass-through tool is going to have this blade to cut this extra wire length off. Again, connector side down, or let's say locking mechanism down. We're going to place it in the connector. I always like to take a look through. I look through the tool to make sure the wires are passing through with the connector. You're going to push the wire all the way through till the jacket goes inside, so you have a nice clean connection. Now we can simply, with our hand, crimp and finish the termination. So that's one termination finished. Now the little golds aren't raised anymore. They've gone inside, they've pinched the wires, and then the wires have been cut by the tool, and it's now a flush, perfect connection. Let's get this thing verified or validated. We're going to use our VDV Scout Pro 2 from Klein Tools. You can pick this thing up. It's like 70 bucks at Home Depot. And we're going to plug one end into the top here. So let's get that plugged into the top. There's 3 ports, one for phone, one for coax, and one for data, which is Ethernet or category cable. Let's plug the other end into the little butt connector. See this little butt? This butt is kept as part of the tool. It's a 2-piece tool. So end to end, we got to plug this end again into the Ethernet port, cat connector. Very nice. Once you have them both in, you can then either press straight up, you can turn it on and then press data, or I believe with this tool, you can simply press data and it's going to run a validation test. Now, we've passed. And what that means is this circuit's validated. This circuit has integrity. What it also means is that you see the number assortment. There's 8 different wires in category cabling, Cat6A cabling. So they're ran in pairs. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What it's showing you is at one end you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At the other end you have a matching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If any of the wires were to twist or bind or go into the wrong pin set, it would show us here. It would let us know that on one side we have 4, but the other side it would be, let's say, 7. And it would tell you that the wires are crossed. But being that we did a good job, we used our audio callouts, we used our visual checks to see the pass-through connector, to see that the wires pass through on the right pin set. We know that our wiring was good. We just have to use this machine to validate that. So we passed. That means we have a good working wire now. We've done a good job here of terminating. We're sure that the wire has integrity. We're sure that all the pins match at both ends. And we're sure that it's going to work when we install it in the home or we put our end devices in. All right, guys, so what do you think? We showed you how to terminate Cat6A with platinum tools and connectors. Now, there's many different types of tools and connectors on the market. You don't have to use platinum. Use whatever's available to you, whatever you can afford. The more important thing is that if this stuff interests you or it's something you have to deal with in the field, watch the video, study it, learn it, and do it. You know, the best advice I can give you is to actually do this stuff in the field. Perform the installation, you know. Practice your terminations. I really hope that what I'm doing helps any and everyone possible. That's why I'm doing it. It costs me a lot of time to do this stuff. You know, it's the weekend. I'd much rather be surfing right now, but it makes me happy. If I can help you guys in any way possible, I really am trying to be thorough. I'm trying to not leave anything out. I'm trying to give you guys every little detail along the way to give you guys the success that I want you to have. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the next video. I got a lot more stuff coming for you.
Oh my gosh, is that the Dreamedia van in my neighborhood? What? Wait, Dreamedia, come back! We need